The autobiography of Malcolm X is the fruit of the collaboration between Alex Haley and Malcolm X. Alex Haley was a journalist and writer, and his most famous book was Roots. Although his parents were both teachers, he left school early and became a freelancer. Malcolm Little was born in 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska, into a large family. His father was murdered in 1931 by a group of racists, and his mother was committed to asylum following a nervous breakdown. Left alone at 16, Malcolm survives with illegal activities such as robbery and gambling. In 1946, he was arrested. While in prison, he joined the Nation of Islam, a movement that radically fought for the freedom of African Americans. In 1952, he was released from prison and became the spokesman for the Nation of Islam, which he turned into a major national movement. Malcolm X believes that the fight for black freedom must be fought by any means necessary. From 1963, he started being in conflict with the movement. On the 13th of April 1964, he made the pilgrimage to Mecca, an experience that led him to a radical revision of his ideas. He realized that the Muslim religion breaks down all racial barriers. This is what he said in a letter to his sister. Malcolm X, who became Haj Malik al-Shabazz, returned to the United States and founded the Organization for African American Unity. On the 21st of May 1965, while giving a public speech in New York, he was assassinated by 3 members of the NOA, whose instigators are still unknown, leaving his wife and 6 daughters alone. The film Malcolm X was released in 1992, directed by Spike Lee, who played Shorty, Malcolm's best friend. Malcolm X was played by Denzel Washington. The first part, there is the youth, is a kind of musical and it's more colored. In the second part, that is the imprisonment, there is a predominance of dark colors such as blue, green, and white. And in the third part, that is the awareness, we have brown, green, and beige. Malcolm X stated, "For me, my X replaced the white slave master name of Little, which some blue-eyed devil named Little had imposed upon my paternal forebears." The issues addressed within this book are universal, not to say among the most important in human history: racism, slavery, religion, violence, and human rights. The themes are so realistic and contemporary. Just think of all the injustices that even today the black community and not only suffers. Just think of the gratuitous death inflicted for no reason just because the other is different, as we will say today. Just think of Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old boy killed because he was walking with his hood up, of Michael Brown, an 18-year-old boy killed because he was suspected of stealing, of Breonna Taylor, accidentally killed in her sleep by police officers, of George Floyd, killed because he was suspected of using a counterfeit $20 banknote, of Adama Traore, who died after being detained and arrested, of Yusufa, who was assaulted and then killed by a group of racists, Let us think of all those innocent victims, of all those people who were slaughtered and then beaten to death for no good reason. Yes, it is great to read any kind of books, fantasy, crime, action, horror, romantic. But the main purpose of literature should be to educate about current affairs, about the problems and hard truth we surround ourselves with. Books should remind the world of how the industrialized countries got rich, who we are and where we come from. That is why we'll always be grateful to all our ancestors who fought slavery and resisted, to all the militants who fought for us, to the families who remind us of our values, and to all the victims who did not die in vain. Indeed, if I am here today, and if we are all here today and walking the streets free, it is thanks to them. The hatred we live in is a product of the past. If slavery and colonialism had not existed, do you think we would be living today as we are? If all this had not happened, do you think the millions of people will leave their country, risking their lives for a better one? Let us inform ourselves, listen to the others' experiences, and not live in ignorance. Let's remember the great ones, like Martin Luther King and his dream, Rosa Parks and her resistance, Angela Davis and feminism, Malcolm X himself and his conversion. These are just a few of the millions of names that could be named. Every victim is a militant in this enormous scourge that darkens humanity.